You guys probably thought you weren't going to get a video this week, and that's wrong. You're wrong. But sorry for the semi-late upload, guys. I'm here now. That's all that matters. Either way, I got to keep myself accountable and posting every week. So this won't happen too much. After that, that's it. I say wealth a lot in this episode because we're talking about the American dream. So it's kind of a given. Have fun. Bye. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Happy Studio Week. I'm back here with another book literature video. And by obviously, you'll probably see this as either will scare you, this book, or you'll be really excited about it. I have a lot of mixed reviews on the high school experience in general. I was on the phone with my friend from high school a couple of days ago, and we were talking about high school and how we met and all the classes we ever had together. And I asked him, I was like, well, the reunion isn't that far. I mean, the reunion is a little far, but because I only graduated high school about like 3 years ago. And I was like, do you want to would you go to the reunion? He was like, no, absolutely not. He did not have a good time, but I myself enjoyed my experience in high school, and I will definitely go. All my Nikwa friends, hi. Even before the reunion, if you see this, we should hang. So, I knew that I was going to read Great Gatsby in 6th grade. Well, I knew I was going to read Great Gatsby in high school in 6th grade. And I was so excited and I anticipated it that I was like, you know what? I'm just going to hold off because I know my brain's not fully molded enough yet to truly understand F. Scott Fitzgerald in 6th grade. So I'm going to wait because I know I'm going to read it in high school because it was just that thing, just like with Catcher in the Rye and To Kill a Mockingbird. At this point, I'm actually not sure if high schoolers are reading that now because I think a lot of books are being banned. Crazy where our priorities are, but I digress. So, yeah, Great Gatsby was one of those books I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna wait and I'm gonna read it and I'm gonna understand it. So 4 years later, to my sophomore year, we ended up reading the book, and I took this class called American Society Block. It's all the blockheads who sing this former and current. Hello, former blockheads and all the blockheads in there, American Society Block. That was one of my favorite classes in all of high school. It was a class where it's pretty self-explanatory. It talks about American society within history and English. So it was a 2-period class. So the seventh period, because it was at the end of the day, 7th period was either history and the other one was English. I think some days we flipped. Can't really remember. Again, this is sophomore year, and I'm in college now. Funny enough, I forgot to say, speaking of college, I have decided to transfer, and I got news today that I got into my top school. So excited. Brian's applauding me. Yeah, I'm so excited. Very, very fun. I have a couple of friends who actually go to this school from high school, and they're going to show me around when the time is right, because I think everyone's on Christmas break. All the people doing finals, and you're on your last week, you can do it. You're pushing. I know you can. I was there because I'm taking some time off right now, but I remember how strenuous it was taking finals back to back to back, especially all you nursing majors and everyone who was in biology, and kudos to you. So, Great Gatsby. It's one of the most American valued books ever. I think, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, it's about to hit 100 years old in 3 more years. This book was written in 1925. I honestly thought it was a little bit older than that, but again, it was written literally not during Prohibition, but like a little bit after, I think. Not too sure. But they talk about F. Scott Fitzgerald and how his writing was prophetic because it was literally before the Great Depression, and how everyone talks about wealth in this book and the idea of having all these things and having these amazing values, and it leading to their downfall was like, oh man, I don't know what they're talking about. Then like 5 years later, we get into the Great Depression, and like, oh, he must have been on to something. So we're going to get into it and talk about the American dream, because in today's, modern society, when we have so many influencers and celebrities and all this stuff, the American dream has kind of been a little distorted, and it looks a little bit different from everyone. So I want to tell you the cut down, cutthroat, definition of what American dream is, and it is the ideal by which equality of opportunity is available to any American, allowing the highest aspirations and goals to be achieved. Now, we talk about the American dream in this book and how privilege is so prevalent throughout the entire book, even from the first page. So, in the words of Nick Carraway, I'm pretty sure anyone who's ever gone to an American school has had to read The Great Gatsby. So, I'm going to read the first couple of sentences. In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, he told me, just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantages that you've had. So off rip, we already talk about how privilege is so important for American success, especially in the 20s. We talk about Nick Carraway, the first character that is being brought up in this book, has moved to New York. He wants to work on Wall Street and gain the American dream. And he lives in this small little house near this amazing, the Great Gatsby. And we're going to talk about if the Gatsby was really great, if Jay Gatsby was truly great. We also, the color yellow is also mentioned a lot in this book. Now, my favorite color is yellow, but it's not exactly the same reasons for in Great Gatsby. Yellow is just, I just love yellow. I've always loved it since I was little. And my favorite food is macaroni. So that's probably why I kind of associate macaroni with yellow, and it's like my favorite color. But yellow is, although it is a symbol for wealth, it is also a symbol for death. The car that Daisy crashed was yellow. Dr. Eckelberg, his eyes were golden. What else? Myrtle, the Tom's mistress, her house was yellow, and she ended up dying. So it's a lot of things that come up in this book. And F. Scott, although he talks about the American dream in such a good light, he also turns it into something that could be combined with corruption, because the people who have the American dream, Gatsby, who I'm talking about specifically, he has the American dream. He's new money. The woman that Gatsby is trying to pursue, who is Daisy Buchanan, she came from old money. So old money is in West Egg, and no, is it? It's been a while since I read the book, but I've done a couple of a little research before I did it, because I remember the plot. But if I remember, I think East Egg is old money and West Egg is old money. If it's not, I'll flip it around in here and post somewhere. When it comes to Gatsby, he has all of these things. He produces wealth. It's really in your face. He has all these great parties. It's like, if you've ever seen Mean Girls, he kind of reminds me of that whole Regina George scene when they're like, oh, Regina George, I heard that she does commercials in Japan, car commercials in Japan, but no one ever knows what Gatsby looks like, because he's just this big figure. He hosts all these grand scheme parties. He owns this big pool, but he never swims. He is in this big area of alcohol, but he doesn't even drink. So when it comes to that, Gatsby, honestly, I think Gatsby honestly couldn't care less of what he has. He's a hopeless romantic at the end of the day, because all he wants is Daisy. He wants to show all of this wealth to get Daisy back. And when he gets Daisy back, he wants Daisy to admit that she never loved Tom. And it kind of sucks, because although Tom is a terrible person, being with someone, because Daisy and Tom were married for 5 years, if you ever been, if you're with someone for a long time, of course you gain some kind of sort of connection, and they also had a child together. So to admit to Gatsby that Daisy never loved Tom is, I don't think it wasn't really a reality for her, because at some point she did love Tom. So, in the end, it led to Gatsby's downfall. I think, we also incorporate, the color gold a lot in our lives. Things can be a golden opportunity. We talk about golden birthdays, and Willy Wonka, talk about the golden ticket, and we use that, that pop culture reference for other things. This is the golden ticket, because gold initiates wealth and all that stuff, because also gold and jewelry and all that stuff, it conflates wealth and beauty at the same time, because um when we're talking about the whole American dream, to the very core, I told you the Google definition, but in just regular words, it's just owning land, being successful, having your own stuff. That's basically what it is. But the opportunity to get there is not really the same for everyone else, because we already all understand the privileges of, race and wealth, and being born into wealth, being born into inheritance and all that stuff, and where you come from, what your skill set is, all that stuff. We're actually in turning times now that college really isn't that big of a deal for everyone. It's funny because I think, because I'm Gen Z, and my parents are, I think they're I don't want to disrespect them like that, so I'm just gonna look. I'm gonna look it up. Because my parents were born in the '70s, but I'm not really sure what generation that is. I don't think it's Gen X. It is Gen X. Okay, my parents were Gen X, but in that, like, college was like the thing. You have to go to college. You have to go to trade school. You have to do this thing, be a successful person. But now we've got so many opportunities. We have so many resources now that college doesn't really have to be the big thing. And the act of going to college, doing it, and then saying, I don't think this is right for me, and coming back has been very normalized now. In other generations and other places, that has not been. Well, some people still think that way, of course, but it's it's way more normalized now. Um, the idea of, like, sustaining wealth also consumes the poor in this book as well. Uh, when the tabloid came out that Myrtle, again, Tom's mistress, died, no one was held accountable, because when people have the American dream, when people have this wealth, especially Tom and Daisy, they are careless. They don't care. They have all this wealth. They have nothing. They have nothing to show for. They just exude all of this wealth, and nothing ever bad can happen to them. They're untouchable, because the fact that Myrtle died, and word came out that I think Gatsby had took the fall for something for some a while ago. Nothing happened to them. No one was taken accountable, and this kind of this kind of translates into how we act today. When it comes to Myrtle too, she also wanted the American dream, because she wanted to have this small fantasy of sustaining wealth, and 'cause she didn't really come from much. She was on, like, the other side of West Egg, and living vicariously through Tom, having all these things, and living this facade life, and cheating on her husband. She wanted this so bad, and it ultimately led to her downfall, because she wanted the American dream, because American dream to her was just wealth, and well, of course American dream is wealth, but she just wanted to have her own thing. She wanted to feel like a socialite, I guess. um it's also weird because Myrtle in the book, she in that time, Myrtle wasn't beautiful, because the beauty standard in the 20s was like skinny and size 2 and below. And I'm pretty sure in the book, Myrtle was described as someone who was more on the curvier side. And I was like, oh, man, it sucks. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, I guess. It's just, man. I realize now I wouldn't last a day in the 1920s. Of course, because one, because of my skin color, but two, is just like, two, I'm also a woman, and three, I'm not skinny, like, at all. I mean, I am, but same time, I'm on the curvier side. I would see myself in Myrtle's eyes, and just like, man, that would not go well. Um, Now we talk about, is Gatsby truly great? Now we know a lot of people, historic figures, prime ministers, and all that stuff, that were not great people, but they did do great things. So in my eyes, I don't think you don't have to be good to be great. It was just the fact that Jay Gatsby, I keep saying Great Gatsby, saying like he's Great Gatsby. Jay Gatsby he was this big figure. He was like the guy, but no one knew exactly who he was, but they knew that he was the guy. So much so that when he died, no one showed up because again, no one knew exactly what he looked like. He was just this figure that everybody wanted to be. And his parties left a lasting effect on people, and just people. I thought that was so shitty of Daisy to not even come to to Nick's funeral. I thought that was just insane to me. Um, Even still, I know, Daisy still loved both of them because, the whole thing of loving multiple people at once, I guess, was just, I don't know. Maybe it just probably was too hard for her, but I still felt like it was a respect thing to be like, I had to pay my respects because the only people that came to Gatsby's funeral, I think, was Nick and Gatsby's dad. I'm pretty sure. And yeah, even still, I thought that was pretty. It was kind of. It's like I got it that no one showed up, but it was also no one tried to figure out. Be like, okay, it's Gatsby. Who is Gatsby or anything like that. But it's so weird how the American dream has been so distorted to everyone because everyone's American dream is so different. Like they say the American dream, but American, you have your dream. You know what I mean? Some people don't want the big glitz and glamour of life. Some people don't want that. Some people don't want to be famous and have tons of followers and be followed around everywhere. Some people just want a soft, quiet life. Own a couple animals on a farm with their kids, send their kids off to school or wherever they want to go, and that's it. That's the American dream. The ability to sustain yourself and to know exactly what you want. I think that's the American dream because it's just like in books like this and Of Mice and Men. Of Mice and Men was probably like the shortest books I ever had to read in high school because I think Of Mice and Men had to be like a little under 100, if not 100 pages. And that one's a little hazy to me because I read that when I was a freshman. And I think that was the first books I read. And I was like, since Of Mice and Men, I think I had to read, see if, comment any of the books I haven't listed that you had to read in high school. I read Of Mice and Men, this memoir called Of Beetles and Angels, Romeo and Juliet, of course, two households, both alike in dignity. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna recite the whole prologue, even though I do know it. What else? Oh, House on Mango Street. That was sophomore year. To Kill a Mockingbird. I read that freshman year. House on Mango Street, sophomore year. Great Gatsby, sophomore year. I think those were Catcher in the Rye. I forgot about Catcher in the Rye. Junior year was my favorite because junior year we read. It was like a memoir, but it was like a war memoir. It was like, oh man, I know it. I'll probably put it in here later, but it's gonna come to me later out of the blue. I'll be like, oh yeah, it's this one. I read Macbeth, or like it was funny because we read the play, and then the play came to our school, and then we watched it. We watched a recording of it. Macbeth is actually my favorite Shakespeare play, you know. And then senior year, I didn't really read too much because we were it was COVID, and I think at the time was I taking an English class? I think I was taking like I was taking a film course, and that's I think that's actually what led me to be a film major for a little bit. But I was like, maybe not film, but advertising, and then now I'm here. I'm gonna be going to school. I have been going to school for advertising, but this program, then the school I'm going to, combines both advertising and public relations. So yeah, two stones with one bird. I don't like the other one because it's kind of violent. So I use two stones with one bird. Let's see. We had to read Frankenstein, but I didn't read Frankenstein. I understood the whole concept of like, Frankenstein's monster and who really was the monster and all that stuff. Like I got that. We'll probably talk about that later. But in the grand scheme of things, I think Gatsby was great because he held that title of being great. But was he good? he was just he was just doing a showboat of things to get the girl, which of course is fair. Like, of course you want to get the woman that you love and, exude all these things, because I think at the very core, he wanted Daisy, but he also wanted Daisy's life. Because again, Daisy came from old money, Gatsby is new money. So I think that because they had a flashback of them meeting, and it was the way that Gatsby talked about Daisy and her house and her life and all that stuff. Because there's a clear distinction from old money and new money. It's like old money is just like, I don't. It's because I don't come from old money. It's just I just understand from reading it so much that it's so profound and it's so secretive. There's a certain way you have to be in here. You have to be in to know about it. But new money is all like, oh, this is new money. Old money doesn't really show off their wealth. That's the thing. Old money usually just knows that they have old money. If you say a last name, be like, oh, you're the Gilmores? Oh, yeah, you're definitely rich. Like, you don't, all you have to do is go by a name. But with Gatsby, it's just like, oh, Gatsby, he does all of these things. So, we talked about the American Dream. We talked about if Gatsby was great. Was The Great Gatsby my favorite book in high school? I think so. If you ever plan on reading this book again, let me know your thoughts, because there's a lot of perspectives all over from the book, because literature in of itself is pretty ambiguous. Because if you've ever been, in a like a conversation, you, of course, your teachers had to like force you to read these books. Not force. I mean, people do whatever they want. But when you're doing close reading and all that stuff, because again, I'm a big lover for reader's response theory. Anything that is interpreted by the reader and the audience creates a brand new meaning for someone else. So sometimes I feel like it's funny, because sometimes I feel like the teachers would probably be like, there was some times when this has happened. I know it has. A teacher would be like, when this character wore blue on this day, his shoes were blue. What does that mean? I don't think it equals sadness. I think sometimes his shoes were just blue and they were just trying to have imagery. But still, I feel like it should be, I wish authors, even like it could be like a panel. I wish authors had a panel and be like, you know what? In this page here, when you said that my shirt was red and I looked at my nails, did that mean blood or something like that? And the author would probably be like, no, his shirt was just red. Like, I saw something red and I just wanted to put it in the book. It would be, I think that would be really, really funny. But there's symbolism everywhere, and it's just, there's never not one meaning in a text. So, could be right, could be wrong. That's the thing about ambiguity. So, I think that's about it for today. I hope you guys have a new understanding, new liking for Great Gatsby, even if you didn't. It takes about 4 hours to read. So, if you ever want to get back into your old, pre-prohibition days, and because Gatsby was a bootlegger and all this. It was funny he's a bootlegger, but again, he doesn't drink. I don't know if he thinks he's too good for it, but I thought that was pretty funny. And the fact that gold is kind of a double entendre in this book. What else? I think that's about it. I hope you guys liked this episode. Let me know what your favorite book ever is in the comments, or like what your favorite experience in high school was. And I will see you guys in my YouTube video next week. Bye!